Seriously, recording videos when you're awkward is not fun. Like, you guys have no idea how many times I start and stop these things because, like, I'm so awkward with this. It's not even funny how awkward I am with this. But anyway, I'm here back with another video, and this time I thought I would do a little bit of a Indiegogo part two of what I'm supporting. Now, this isn't going to be everything that I am supporting because I remember the first time I did it, right, the first video I did was some years ago, and then in between then I've kind of backed more things, but this is kind of like the more recent stuff that I've done in the last few months. And part of the reason I want to do that is because I remember the video I recorded on Friday and talking about, how much I miss reading comics regularly. And I know talking about Indiegogo projects is not necessarily mentioning, regularity because they take so long to come to you. But I did, go back and I'm waiting for them to be delivered, but I did go back and I, finished out some of the series that I had been reading years ago before I stopped going to my local comic book shop. And I will continue to say this until DC listens to me. I stopped going and buying comics because I don't like Brian Michael Bendis, and I don't like that he's ruining Superman. And so Superman was the reason that I went to the comic book shop every week, and Bendis is writing him, and I hate Bendis's writing of him. So I don't get a chance to go to the shop, which means I don't take a chance on other comics. And so, it bothers me. And then even looking at what DC is calling their 5G, I'm not going to be pleased because essentially you can tell it's a matter of we hate our regular cast. Therefore, we're just going to age them out so we can write the characters that we wanted to write all along. I wish them luck. I'm not jumping in on 5G, but I am going to force myself to take more of a chance on indie comics. And so with that being said, one of the indie comics that I want to talk about is not this one in front of you, but it is this one called Rust. I got the chance to read the first volume of it through my Kindle Unlimited, and I really enjoyed that first volume. This is I guess it's like they call it The War, but like in looking at the way the art is and, kind of like the throwback period, it makes me think that it's probably like World War I or World War II, but definitely during that time. And it is such a good, the first volume was such a good story that my plan is to buy the whole series, probably through Amazon. So I'm going to buy the whole series, read it, and then I want to give a kind of in-depth review. But the basic premise is that you have a war that happened, and we can go to the synopsis. But, Rust is a high-octane adventure set in the prairie lands of an unknown time. Life on the Taylor farm was difficult enough before Jet Jones crashed into the barn, chased by a giant decommissioned war robot. And essentially that's really all you need to know. Essentially you have this character here who, you have this character here, you have war machines, you have, this mystery of why they're attacking this kid, and you have who this kid is himself, and, the mystery of just this regular family who is waiting for the return of their father, and, the oldest son essentially trying to help keep the farm and everything together. It is, I really am excited to get my hands on this one and to be able to read it, because like I said, volume 1 just really sucked me in just with that basic story. And I can say the art is so good. The art is good. The storytelling is good. Like it is, it is that mystery there. It is, like it's fast paced enough with the action. Like it is enjoyable. And so this is one of the ones that I will be getting. I haven't gotten yet, but I will be purchasing this one. One of the other, some of the other things that I'm going to be getting, I've already paid for them. I'm just waiting for them to arrive. And, those kind of things are like just finishing out previous series that I'd started years ago. This one, Rust, is brand new to me. And so I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be excited to do that because it is an indie comic, and Boom Studios is one of those things where it's sort of like I have a kind of like, they're kind of like a mixed bag. Like they have some really good series. Like that's where I got Brave Chef Brianna. It's also where I got Klaus, and then like this, because it seems like it's going to be a good series. And then they have some not really good ones that, I just like, they had elements and things that I couldn't get with, but we're not going to be talking about the individual indie companies. Well, yeah, Mech Cadet U is one I'm going to be finishing out, and that's also a Boom studio, but I don't want to talk about just Boom in general. I just want to talk about some of the things that I am doing. I also have, because now that I'm thinking about it, I have a Mark Millar book coming, and I forget the name of it, but essentially it looked like it was interesting and I wanted to give it a chance. And I apologize that I wasn't as prepared for that one, but I literally wasn't thinking about it because I was just thinking about the Indiegogo projects. But I have that Mark Millar one coming, and then I have the first volume of Middle West coming as well. So and Middle West, I got interested in because, and probably like a year or so ago, because I saw just some guy do a review of the first issue. And, I was still in my mad phase at DC, so I didn't take the chance on it. But now that I am remembering, like now that I'm like at that point where it's sort of like, okay, I'm ready to take a chance again on it, because I really do miss reading comics and whatnot. I'm going to take a chance on Middle West. I'm going to read the first volume, and then if I really enjoy that first volume, then my plan, of course, is to go and get the second volume and then see what happens from there. Now on to the Indiegogos that I am backing. So one of the Indiegogos you've already saw is Guardians of Orloth, and I just backed this one more recently in the past month or so. And, this was a little bit intriguing because it's a fantasy tale, and because I do like fantasy, like I don't pretend that I don't. I've mentioned quite a bit. I love fantasy. In fact, one of my plans is, even though I'm a little bit worried about how it's going to be, but when Amazon Originals comes out with their Lord of the Rings universe series, my plan is to watch that and to talk about it on the channel, because I really really do enjoy fantasy. But this one is a volume 2, as you can see, and so I had to get the one that comes with both volume 1 and volume 2, which is fine. But what really kind of drew me in was this cover right here. And, the title, Guardians of Orloth, The Last Leopard King. So I'm interested to see what happens, because it kind of like it gave me that little bit like gritty kind of fantasy vibe. And, like if the cover can draw me in, and then, if the art, because I always love when they have art samples and things like that. So just going through, like there's no word bubbles on this, but if I'm looking through, then, it's basically, can I tell what the story is based on the visuals? And that's kind of what I really love about comics, is the visual storytelling aspect. So, I go through, I look at, and I just say, okay, does it make sense? Does it draw me in? This, you can see that there is the action that's there. So, I'm definitely interested in seeing, what's going to happen with this. And of course, like I said, this is volume 2. So I'm getting both volume 1 and volume 2. So I'll be able to read both of them. And, when I get them, which who knows with the Indiegogos nowadays, the plan is to review them when I get them. The next one, which I'm actually really excited about, is Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. And the reason I'm excited about this is it was the little tagline that just hooked me in immediately, like a sci-fi space opera inspired by the always awesome Saturday morning cartoons of the 90s. Now, yes, I couldn't wait for Saturday mornings to watch the cartoons and whatnot. And so I was like always there, butt on the couch or like laying on the floor watching Saturday morning cartoons. And this really kind of made me think about like Biker Mice from Mars, because it's not like like anthropomorphic creatures. So, like it made me think of Biker Mice from Mars. And I really loved that show. And so I'm expecting this to be like full of action, high octane, like just all of that. And so I gave it, like there's even a theme song for this, which is just like, I've listened to it. It's hilarious. But yeah, I am backing this one. And, the last update that he talked about is that there is a publisher that is interested in helping with comic book shop distribution. So, this is one of those things that I really kind of hope does get on the shelves, because if I enjoy this first volume and it can get on the shelves, it's the kind of thing that I probably would go to the comic book shop to be able to like get it. Same thing. Like, I mean, the cover, like this cover just hit all the right notes with me. Like, I saw this and I was just like, yes, I have to have this. Like, I have to have this. And so even at the time, where I was in the, I don't really want to back kind of thing, I knew that this was one that I was going to take a risk on. And yeah, definitely took the risk on. And I am excited about it, because it looks good. And comics is a visual medium. So if you can hook me in with the art and you can hook me in with like, the sample pages and you can make it really interesting. Yeah. I'm liable to go in. So I'm definitely in for this one and I'm excited for when it comes. Another one that I've backed is SOS Volume 1. And this one I did because, because of this piece right here, but, or this cover here, I think it was this cover. And it was also intriguing, like the idea, because you had 3 former super soldiers. They set up a monster hunting business to combat demons from the abyss. So it just seemed like it was right up my alley, because it didn't give me horror vibes because I don't like horror, but it gave me that kind of like supernatural vibe because you can look at the characters and it's like, okay, they're super soldiers. So obviously some kind of enhancements and things were done to them. And as you can see, one guy has wings, one guy has, fire. And so, yeah, like, okay, interested. And then I find out the art is by Ibai Canales. And, I enjoyed his work on Iron Sights because it fit the vibe that Iron Sights was going for. And so I did the same thing that I did with the other ones where I went through the samples and it's sort of like, okay, you know what you're kind of getting into. And it's kind of like, that kind of rough and gruff kind of thing. And so like, I love this little demon creature right here. Like, and that just kind of like hooked me in and just like, the sample pages and the attitudes. And so, yeah, like I am kind of excited for this one because I think it is going to be good. And I'm excited to see like how they tackle that kind of supernatural element of it. I hope it is going to be very action packed because it seems like it should be action packed because you're taking on demons from the abyss. So like it should be like nonstop action. And if you're going to hook me in with a comic kind of story that's not slice of life, like that's sort of the way to go. Like give me action all day. Then there's Starblades, and Starblades I had to back because, the artwork, the artwork totally hooked me in for Starblades. Now this one took me a very long time to back, because, I, hit, of course, a little hard time financially. And so I had to be more frugal with the money that I had. And, and then too, I was kind of like in a place of being a little bit tired of backing Indiegogo projects. So it was kind of, a wait and see game. And a lot of them were kind of like wait and see games because most of the ones that I've showed you not most of them, all of the ones I've shown you so far, I've backed them when they were on the in demand. So, essentially it was like, this was one of those where it was like, if it's in demand at the time that I have, some disposable cash, and if it's in demand at a time where I'm feeling like backing Indiegogo projects, then okay, I'll, back the project. And so it's still here on in demand. And so, yeah, I can feel safe in backing this project. And so, yeah, like the art drew me in. And I know these are all static images, but I think he did, like, the story of it hooked me. The characters hooked me. I'm interested to see the cover, of course, hooked me. And like, I'm intrigued by the story and I'm intrigued by the art. And like I said, I am fantasy all day. So just like the fantasy element of it really hooked me in. So I'm excited about this project. I can't wait to see what it looks like when it is in my hands. I can't wait to talk about it because I really hope it's going to be good, because this was one of the ones that is kind of like, I think this is going to be so good. So I'm really, really, really hoping that this will be, up to the standard of quality that I am hoping for something like this, because this is one of those where it's like, I think it needs to be successful. Like, it needs to be his best foot forward, because like the story could definitely be epic. Then there's Tales from the Classroom, which this one, like I didn't put a Monster MD up here, but I did back Monster MD. And this Tales from the Classroom, it's that same supernatural kind of element that gave me interest in SOS, but it's different. I love because it's sort of, this is more like that kind of like slice of life with a twist. And I always love that with a twist. Like, because for me, even as a writer, like I can't just write normal things. There always has to be, that kind of like with a twist, because I'm always interested in that kind of like monster world, fantasy kind of world thing. And so like, if you can just, stick those two elements together, you pretty much have hooked me. And this is one, like, this image here that you see was what hooked me in. And so, I did like always, I read the overview. I looked at I essentially looked at the photos and like read and I did read the clips that they gave. And, it's like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And this is one of those like, I think it was supposed to be done through a publisher, and somehow, some way, either the publisher went out of business or the deal fell through or something. So they came to Indiegogo because they still want to be able to do this. And the project, this current project itself is already done before they even came to Indiegogo, which made me feel a little bit better about backing the project, because I want one that is going to have the least amount of wait time. So, and I think the last update I got was, that basically they're in the process of formatting and things like that for the printer. And I know that can take time, because you have to make sure that everything is properly formatted, and then you have to look at the proofs and make sure that everything's okay, and and hope that nothing goes wrong. And like there's always a lot when you're doing it on your own. So I get that. I'm excited, and I'm just hoping that it'll be good, because it looks like it'll be good. And then the last one I want to talk about is Rough Sketch. And Rough Sketch is not a comic, but it's a portfolio. And it's a portfolio by John Celestri. And basically I backed this one because I saw his interview on Clownfish TV. And, basically he pointed out that this was essentially him talking about his time in the animation industry. And, the Night character that you see was really what drew me in, because I knew that face. Now, I remember that particular face from The Sword in the Stone on Disney, but I also remember that face from Dragon's Lair by Don Bluth. So, and yeah, I backed this project like years ago, but I remember that face. And so I just wanted to have like a portfolio just of like, his past work, his experiences, because I think things like that are always kind of a learning experience. And I think that it's just nice having, stories of people who were in the industry, and just seeing like the work that they did. And so you can just like look through and kind of like pick apart, what they did. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about that, other than this is one that, a lot of this is kind of like, oh, this character, that character, Raggedy Ann and Andy, like, yeah, them. So, or I guess if you're older, them. But yeah, so that's, I do believe, is the last one that I have backed for now. Like I mentioned, I did back Monster MD. I know I backed Sasquatch Samurai or Samurai Sasquatch. Yeah. And there's kind of like a couple of others that in the time that I have. But, you know, it's like I look at it and it's like, oh my God, I've backed so many projects. But so far, I've had a really good experience on Indiegogo where I've been able to get everything that I've backed. So, you know, in terms of risk, one can say it's not been as risky as it could be. But I know that it is kind of difficult at the same time because of the long wait periods, because anything and everything can go wrong, because, you know, like it's such a huge risk, and it's a lot less risky to go to the comic book shop where you're already like you're getting your hands on the product immediately. And so, like, just as I think about what I'm going to do with this channel here in 2020, it is going to kind of be like that bit of combination thing of talking about Indiegogo projects and talking about, you know, independent comics and things like that in series that I'm finding interesting. And then, of course, like news and like comics news and movie news and reviews and things like that. So, you know, hopefully, like I can get things to find like that nice balance of being able to do a lot of content. And like, this is one of the ways that I'm going to be able to do that. Now I have to, I gotta end this video because I gotta take the dog to the groomers, which I am so excited for because he stinks so much. And it's kind of like you take them to get a bath, and then they smell good when you pick them up. And then you take them outside to the car and you take them home and you bring them inside and then they stink again. And I hate that. But like, if I could just get him to not stink for like a little bit, I will be glad. So I gotta take the dog to the groomers, and that's how I'm gonna end the video. Anyway, if you like this, click the like button, click the subscribe button, share, do all of that, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.